Opportunity knocks with this unique property that offers 4 rental units on 1 tax lot. Very cool. So it's a fourplex. South Howard Street offers 2 individual cottage-style homes that are 3 beds, 1 bath, and 2 bed, 1 bath respectively. So you got a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom house. Additionally, the main house is a split-level duplex that offers 2 1-bed, 1-bath units, nestled in the heart of Newburgh, just blocks from George Fox University. This property offers a world of possibilities to the first-time landlord or savvy investor. I guess I'd be that category. Reserve your tour today. Man, what an interesting opportunity. So it's a fourplex, but it's really 2 houses and kind of a weird duplex. Let's take a look at this. My name is James Furlo, and I provide strategies and tools for landlords to maximize their long-term cash flow while minimizing headaches. Thanks for watching. So a broker reached out to me because he had some buyers to buy this place, but it fell out of contract because the numbers are just kind of big when it comes to a rehab. So I want to go over this property and actually show why it makes sense or doesn't make sense. But first, pictures, because we all love pictures. Here's what the main building looks like. And if you've got a keen eye, you'll notice something right here. It's this tarp that is clearly going over the roof. Let's look at a few other pictures here to just get a better sense for the condition of this property. Got a tub here, big deal. Got some weird stuff going on with the tile there. All right, that's an interesting mast, very old school. Let's see, this house in the back actually looks kind of cute. Looks like the siding's in decent shape. Maybe that's a storm thing there. I don't know. Ooh, these windows, they could use some love. Just need to replace them. And just look at that siding. I don't know. Ooh, you can kind of see some built-ins, which these are clearly like older homes. And I used to have a place just like this that we rented out, and it actually did really, really well. This up here on this bathroom ceiling would be very concerning to me. I don't know what's going on with the roof. Being that I think I'm looking out from the 2nd floor, I think this is the top part of the duplex, and this is one of the homes in the back, so clearly there's something going on with the roof. That is a super cool clawfoot tub, though. There's a better shot of what the roof is looking like, so clearly there's some work. And so actually where that bath is probably back here, so it's not even covered, but it's clearly something going on. Just a lot of leaves in general, too. All right, got some broken concrete pads. Here's a good look at the flooring. It's kind of cool hardwood floor. I do like that. There's obviously some cracks and stuff going on. I guess if this got refinished, it could look really cool. There's a better close-up of this bathroom area there. Man, my guess is that entire thing just needs to be torn out along with the roof and redone. Here's a shot of the electrical. Whoa, look at those guys. That's pretty old school. That would probably need to be replaced. Here's another one, also pretty old. Main fuses, dang. Window doesn't look like it's in great shape, but there you go. So that's just a real quick tour of the photos that I was given. As you can see, this property is not in great shape and actually doesn't qualify for traditional financing. So the way you would go about doing this one is you would either bring cash to the table, either out of pocket or from a hard money lender, and then you'd fix it up and then either sell it or refinance. So what we're talking about here is a classic flip or a burr. So we're going to start with looking at it as a flip, because if it works for that, then we could potentially look at it as a burr. And if it doesn't work as a flip, then it just won't work as a burr, because what the burr strategy does is say, well, we're going to buy it, we're going to rent it, we're going to rehab it, we're going to then rent it and refinance it, and ideally pull out enough cash from that refinance that it pays for everything. So I'm interested in this just because it's a multifamily property, it's got an interesting project. So let's take a look. Another important part is the price. It's $500,000. And this, unfortunately, is a very hard number. There's not a lot of flexibility there because it is an older owner who has a reverse mortgage. And so she just owes a lot, especially when you start to include the closing costs and agent stuff like that. And reverse mortgages are interesting because you can't just take over the mortgage, because unlike a normal mortgage where you could probably do like a subjects to type of thing and no one's really paying attention as long as payments are being made, that is not the case for reverse mortgages. They are always looking to see when a person passes away so that they know to then collect on their debt and end that loan. So it's a little bit of a tricky one, which means you have to go the hard money route or a private money lender route or use your own cash. Last piece of critical information here is the rehab piece. Because this agent had some people who were already going through it, he sent me the list of repairs that they were going to get done. And check this out. It is a list. So the first home, they're going to stay as is. The second home, they're going to do a little bit of work. We're talking a couple grand. Okay, we're talking a little bit more. It's a small roof, so it's only $4,000. That seems low to me, but again, I don't really know. And then there's the duplex, and there's some work. We got a bigger one here, some roof work. We got to do some plywood on the outside. We got to replace 17 wood windows. Let's see here. We got to provide some hardy plank siding. There's some other big ones. More window paint happening. And oh, what do we got here? A new furnace and heat pump and ducts running to both units. That's $7 grand. That's a huge one. And what else we got here? As you can see, there's all sorts of stuff that need to happen. Here's one, LVP flooring throughout. I get it. And oh, we're just gonna redo the cabinets. So $6 grand each, so 12,000 total. That's a big one. Yeah, that kitchen probably needs a lot of work, even though I didn't see any pictures of it. That total comes out to $197,400. That's a big number, but it is what it is, and we throw it into the model, and that just determines what we would do for an offer. Before I get to my spreadsheet and we plug it all in, I actually think it would be helpful to start out with a flipping calculator, because it's just simpler, it's easier to read, and will just give us a really good idea for kind of what are we talking about. So this is one that I've used, and it's great. I didn't make it. I actually got it from somebody else, and it works really well. It's super simple, so I use it. Essentially, we're estimating that the ARV is $825,000. So that's where you get excited, right? Oh, I can buy this thing for $500,000, sell it for $825,000. That's a lot of money in between. Yay! But as you'll see, that's not totally the case. So there are some closing costs. In Oregon, it's about $1,800. There are some holding costs. In this case, there's some rent that you could get for it. So it actually is negative $15,000 because you get a little bit of income, because those two houses, you can have rented the entire time that you've got it owned. So total project cost is $678,000. And so if you've got $678,000 sitting around, awesome, perfect, go buy it. You're off to the races. I don't have that kind of cash just sitting around. It's sitting in other properties. So I would get a hard money loan. And oftentimes they'll give it to you at 70%, the after repair value. They charge 3% and to get it, and then 12% interest on the property itself. And so that means my hard money loan amount is going to be $577. I'm going to pay a bunch in points. I'm going to pay a bunch in interest, and there's some administrative fees that happen at the end. This number is actually low. It should be closer to $4,000 based on what I know. So we're just going to throw that in there. And then we've got some money that we'd have to come up with. So in this case, it would be a down payment of $100,000, plus we'd have to pay those, plus we'd have to pay the fees, plus the interest. We just want to make sure we have money for that so that we can pay it as the project is ongoing. And so that means we would need some sort of loan amount of about $200,000. For the moment, what I'm going to assume is that I actually have that sitting around, because if it doesn't make sense like that, then it definitely wouldn't make sense if I went out and find a passive investor to give me $200,000. If it didn't make sense, then we talk, but let's just keep going. So the final assumptions in here is that I'm going to sell it a year later, and I'm going to pay 6% commissions and 1.5% closing costs, which is pretty close for what we're talking about in Oregon. And so, as a general rule, you want a minimum profit margin of 10%. So in this case, it'd be $82,000. That kind of makes it worth all the time and effort. And in this case, I'm actually going to lose $5,800. Man, that kind of stuff just, it really bothers me. Because on the surface, right, it really seems like this should make sense. I'm going to buy it for $500,000, and then I'm going to get $325,000 after the fact. This is a no-brainer deal. But as you can see, these things really start to stack up. If I did not need this hard money loan, and let's just say that it wasn't happening for whatever reason, then it would barely make sense from a return standpoint. So you can kind of see part of the problem here is, despite what the numbers look like, those rehab costs are huge, where it's not actually a $500,000 purchase, it's closer to a $700,000 purchase. And so all of a sudden you're $825, it looks okay, but not great. Just for funsies, I threw this into my own analysis calculator because I've never actually used it for a flip type of thing, but I was kind of curious, how do my numbers line up? So for starters, this is a duplex, and so I know I can rent them out. I looked up the numbers on Rentometer, and it looks like on average I could get $1,500 a month. This is kind of how it breaks down. And right now, we'll just say I'm not getting anything for it. So over time, I will gradually rent them out, is kind of the idea. I didn't have any numbers here, so I had to mix them up. And so essentially what I said was, well, I can look at the property taxes. I got an idea for what insurance is going to be. I know I want to have some sort of replacement reserves. And more importantly, I know that my total operating expenses should probably be in the 40% range. And so I added $11,000 into other, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a combination of a whole bunch of other stuff once it's all fixed up, so that I got my total eventual operating expenses. And that's going to be things like ongoing maintenance, utilities, that kind of stuff. So the idea is, once this thing is totally fixed up, my net operating income will be about $36,000 a year. That's the basic premise. And you can see I've got similar assumptions here. I'm saying I'm going to fix this up in 12 months. I'm going to spend about $200,000 on it. And then I'm going to have the same loan of $577,000. And yeah, it's 117% loan to value, which means I'm getting money not only for the purchase price, but also to do all the repairs or pay my interest, however you want to think about it. And it's going to be interest only, and it's going to be fixed at 12%. There are my financing fees. And yeah, so loan assumptions are all the same. All right, without further ado, let's see if my numbers match. Here we are, putting in $741,000 total. Somewhere that $163,000 of equity comes from somewhere, but probably never will, because I have a negative internal rate of return, a negative cash on cash, a negative annual return, and I actually make less money than I put in, which is completely aligned with the other calculator tool. So that feels good. And in this particular case, it says the profit's going to be negative $10,000. So not great. In other words, shouldn't do this deal. And it's really nice to see that our numbers kind of align. So I know that this situation is tough because of the reverse mortgage, but just for the fun of it, I went and I looked and said, okay, what would the property purchase have to be in order for this to make sense for me? I went back to the flipping calculator and I decided to say, all right, what do I need to do to get it to be that minimum profit of $82,000? And essentially that meant I had to lower the purchase price by $90,000. And once I did that, the numbers make sense. So they're asking $500,000, and in reality, it's really only worth $400,000. So I don't 100% know how to solve the situation, but my guess is that the way forward is going to be some sort of short sale. Or another potential option is you have some intrepid brand new investors who buy it and they don't go off and spend the $197,000 day one. Instead, they do a lot of the work themselves and maybe cut that number in half. And then that helps bridge that gap and make this investment make sense for them. But for someone like me, the only real way that I could do it would be to negotiate with them to do a short sale with the bank and then acquire it that way, do all the repairs, and then go on and treat it just like a regular flip. So I hope you found that interesting in the sense that it seems like on the surface a really good deal, but when you take into account all of the costs that are involved in doing the rehab and the holding costs, what seems like an obvious, absolutely good deal, maybe not so much. So this is probably one that I will follow up with in a month or so just to see if they've gotten any additional bites. And at that point in time, broach them with the idea of, hey, let's go into a short sale. Let's go through that entire process, because at that rate, it would absolutely be worth it to me to try to figure out how to do. If you found this video helpful, please like it. And if you want more tools and strategies for maximizing your long-term cash flow while minimizing headaches, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.